No need to worry, I've got no room for doubt. No matter what's coming at me, you'll always be the beautiful I sing about. There ain't no limitations to your amazing grace, your amazing grace. And there's something about the way your love shines on my face. Oh no, I can never get enough of you. This feeling can't be wrong. I'm about to get my worship on. I'm gonna sing a brand new song. Yeah, I'm about to get my worship on. Take me away on this beautiful day.
Well, hello and thank you for joining us. It is a great day to be alive. You know, today's subject is very, I guess you could say, heart-touching to my heart and my soul. You all know that I lost 2 children to a very rare genetic disorder called spinal muscular atrophy. But anytime that a child is being abused or hurt in some form or fashion, it just does something to my spirit because it should not hurt to be a child. God gives us children as a gift, and we should love them, nurture them, and protect them. But unfortunately, children are being abused almost every 10 seconds. Some child has been abused throughout the nation. And so my guest on today, Barbara Culberson, is here to share some insight of what we can do as a community, individually, church members, but overall, what we can do to help stop child abuse. If you will, join her as we welcome Barbara Culberson to the Tammie Show. Welcome, Barbara.
Thank you for having me, Tammie. It's great to be here with you.
Always, always. You know, I love your spirit, but more importantly, I love the passion that you have for children.
Yes.
I mean, it's like you just give it 100%. And so April is your month where you just go above and beyond.
Yeah.
And so just share with those that are watching exactly what April is known for nationally.
Nationally, it is the National Child Abuse Prevention Month. So we really try to do things to raise awareness because if a child is being abused, it can't help itself.
Yeah.
And it's going to require the intervention of an adult.
Yes.
And so that's what we do during the month to raise awareness for adults to kind of recognize some of the things that may be going on to prevent it.
Right. And I read this, every 10 seconds a child is abused. That's too many.
Too many.
What are your thoughts in regards to that?
I think, one is one too many.
Yeah.
So especially since it's preventable. Children, when they are born, the only thing they know is cry.
Yeah.
And everything else is learned behavior. But what happens so many times with our children, before they get to know what's normal, they're abused. And so then that becomes normal for them.
Yeah.
And so then we have a history of abuse that
And I think you said something, cry. When children begin to cry, if we are not emotionally whole as parents, we can abuse them without even consciously knowing it.
Yes.
From the yelling, the screaming, and even the patting them on the butt. That's a form of abuse. So just what are the types of abuse for those that are watching? Inform our audience.
So basically there are 4 types of abuse. The physical abuse is something that's kind of, known where you can actually see bruises, marks, cuttings, burns, stuff like that, broken bones. Emotional abuse is not quite as easily detectable. That's when someone verbally, you're no good like you're no good daddy.
Yeah.
You're fat. Don't nobody want to be with you but me. Nobody else, you're ugly. So it's put downs. That's emotional abuse. Then we have sexual abuse. And that is any type of inappropriate touch. It doesn't have to always be sexual, but it can be. But it can be just rubbing or some type of inappropriate sexually touch with a child. Yeah. And then we have one, the 4th one is neglect. A lot of times people don't think of neglect as abuse, but it is.
It is.
It is. And that's failing to do something, take a child to their appointments, failing to make sure that they go to school, to get an education. And a lot of times if they just make it to their doctor's appointments, you can find out if they're having problems with their vision or and then you may be able to prevent a problem if you catch it early enough. So neglect is also a form.
Would not providing their necessities, food, clothing, and shelter, is that a form of neglect?
It is a form of neglect.
And sometimes parents don't realize that God gives them to you as a gift. I can say that because my boys have passed away, and but I look back and say there's nothing that I did not do. I have no regrets because I believe that I did what I needed to do the best of my ability. But for those that are watching us right now, God has given you a second chance, a second win to be able to love and to nurture these children. It happens more often than we think.
Yes. It happens in all, there's in all races, economic groups, classes, cultures. It happens. It's not just, poor people or in wealthy homes, abuse takes place. It's not just some phenomena that happens over yonder somewhere. And so that's why we have to be vigilant and stay the course in helping to prevent it.
And I love how you say it happens really across the board.
Yes.
And sometimes we've been told, shh. I've seen that a lot when teaching. And I know you have heard this working with youth groups and those type of things, how they were sexually abused, molested, raped. They told an adult and nothing was done. And it scars those children.
Yes.
And they become adults who now are feeling neglected and abused, and their behavior, you can see it in their behavior and how they interact with people and relationships.
Yeah. It does something to the worth of the value of a child. And so what we try to do, I think there are basically two symbols, the blue ribbon and the pinwheel. And I want to just kind of talk about the pinwheel for a minute since you said that. The pinwheel, it represents turning an obstacle or something traumatic into an opportunity.
Wow.
And so what we have to try to do with children that have been abused or maybe in abusive situations now is that does not define who you are as a person.
Absolutely.
You are a victim. It does not define you. And so we have to find a way to take the ugly traumatic thing that has happened and turn it into something where they know they still have worth and value, and help them walk this thing called life in a more positive way.
For those of you that are watching us right now, my guest, Barbara Culberson from the Discovery Center there in Starkville, Mississippi, a part of a Starkville Consolidated School District. She's here sharing some insight in regards to child abuse awareness. April is Child Abuse Awareness Month. So if you see those that are wearing royal blue or blue, that is a sign that they are raising awareness. And I think today is actually Blue Day. I'm blue in my heart, I believe. Barbara does have her blue on, but any other day I would definitely have on royal blue. But I want you to share the blue ribbon story of how it actually evolved, because it's so heart touching.
It's very heart touching. It started from this grandmother in Virginia, and she had been noticing signs that perhaps something was going on with her grandchildren being abused, and she did try to get a little help, but no one was paying attention to her. And she was kind of sickly herself, so she really couldn't take the children. And eventually, one of the grandchildren ended up dead at the hands of the daughter's boyfriend.
My God.
And so she decided she wanted to put a blue ribbon on. Those days they had antennas. Cars had antennas.
Yes, ma'am.
So she put a blue ribbon on her car's antenna, and people would ask, "What is this? What do you mean by this?" And it became a conversation piece. This was her way of being able to raise awareness. So then when people asked her, she could share her story and help other people to look for signs and symptoms of maybe some things might be going on in your family, in your neighborhood, or with some child that you know.
I love it how she took action.
She took action.
And she was sickly herself, but grandmothers know. They know when something is not right. Of course, they're praying, but she knew, and she said, oh my goodness, my grandchild has passed away. There's something that I can do. And I want to say this, across the board, God will lead and guide us and show us what to do. She took action. And here we are years later, still with these blue ribbons. Isn't that amazing?
Blue ribbons everywhere.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
You all just actually had an event on Saturday. Share with us how the community came together. Was it Friday or Saturday?
It was Friday. So this past Friday, we had what we call the community pinwheel planting ceremony. And we do that every year, and we get representatives from throughout the community come and help us plant pinwheels in recognition of this month. We do it at the Discovery Center along the sidewalks. And so we had, just an awesome time talking about the history of how this all came to be.
Absolutely.
And just having the community go out and do this to help raise awareness.
And when we were driving by, you could actually see the wheels turning because the wind was blowing. It's beautiful to see.
Yes.
And just to know that every time one of the pinwheels are turning, I just really heard God saying, I'm turning it, I'm working it around. We're going to save, children day by day, step by step.
Yes.
So just beautiful. So thank you again for the phenomenal work that you're doing there at the Discovery Center. Risk factors. What are some risk factors that we need to be on the look out for?
So it doesn't mean that it's occurring, but some of it gives you something to kind of focus on. If there is a lot of poverty in an area, if there is some drug use among parents, if there is a child in the home that maybe has a mental or physical disability, all of these things bring stressors on the parents. Maybe the parent does not intentionally intend to harm their child,
right,
but they get so stressed out because of these other things going on. If there is, you find a family that maybe is in isolation, that someone has moved to isolate them from their family or from friends. And so now why is that? Then you want to take a closer look at that because that is a risk factor. Those are just some of the things that possibly could indicate.
Children with physical disabilities that are developmentally delayed.
Yes.
Though that's another risk factor that sometimes we have to take a closer look at.
Right.
For the most part.
Yeah.
I'm also reading, as you said, the history of being abused.
Yes. You would think that if you had been abused that you wouldn't abuse someone else, but for whatever the reason, we find that people as adults that abuse, somewhere in their childhood, they were abused.
Yeah.
And so that kind of repeats itself in a generational cycle. And so, but it's still preventable.
It is preventable. What advice would you give to a mother who may be experiencing, and I'll say this, abuse physically, and at the same time, she finds herself out of anger and rage abusing her children? Because it happens, Barbara. It happens more often than we think. And a lot of times our children come to school and they shut down and we think it's a behavior problem when they're actually dealing with some environmental issues and home issues.
So I would say to that mother, you're not alone. A lot of times when we find that parents are striking out or doing things that would be negative, have a negative impact on their children, it's because they're feeling like they're alone and they have to handle this by themselves.
Yes.
And that's not true. There are so many resources out here where you can reach out and get help and get other ideas on how maybe you can walk through this problem that maybe you're having. But when you feel like you're isolated and alone, and this is only happening to me, that's not true. And it's not going to get you anywhere towards being able to help your child. At the end of the day, no matter what the parent's problem is, what may be causing it, it needs to be dealt with because the child cannot solve this problem. Yeah.
And that's so true. There's no way that they can. They need help. And for those that are watching, help is available. It's amazing how you said you've been abused and you say, I would never want this to happen to anyone else. But without even consciously knowing it, sit down with your ugly self. You'll never be anything. You're just like your dad. Oh, you get on my nerves. Or they pick up items and they throw it at their kids. These are the things that I've heard. I'm sure you have as well.
I mean, some of the things that, we've seen on the news, where I think this was a couple of years ago, a grandmother had put a child in the oven and baked it.
Yeah. In the microwave,
something,
infant baby.
So it's all kinds of things that would just, a father who sexually molested his own children. I mean, things that you wouldn't think would happen, happening.
Yes.
And so, we just have to be vigilant.
What can we do as a community, as a whole, to reach out, especially when you are dealing with young people? And I ask that question because you just have this way with young people. You just know how to, I call it psychologically manipulate them to, before they know it, they're pouring their heart out to you. And I've watched your eyebrow go up like, I really wasn't expecting all of that, but let's deal with it.
Well, children have a way of kind of knowing who really cares about them.
They do.
And so you can say something or do not, but they kind of can tell the people that are really genuinely concerned about them. And so you have to build a relationship with children, have some type of bond. And I think when I do parenting classes, that's one of the things that I try to always bring out. One of the best or biggest things or most important thing you can do with your child is to have a bond.
Yes, ma'am.
Because if something's going on, you want them to come to you. You may have missed it, but you want them to be able to feel like they can share anything with you.
Absolutely.
That's one of the things I admire about you and your daughter, because you have this bond. I saw it when I met you several years ago. And over the years, how you and her just have this awesome bond. And so therefore, when you have that, you have influence. You have influence on that child. And so, you just want to make sure that you find a way to do things together with your children, no matter how old they are. You can't wait till they're 15.
No.
Little.
No.
So.
Because they enjoy your presence of being there in the moment with them versus the presence of the money, the cash apps. I can't be there, but I'll send you some money. No, they actually want you to be at their soccer games, their basketball games, their cheer, competitions. They want you to take them to the library. Just take them to the store. Right. I remember growing up, we lived out in the country. We were excited to go to the store to get our little potato chips, candy, and our soda pop. It's just those little things, that we wanted to spend with our parents. So you have to be able to make that sacrifice.
Yeah, you have to be able to do that. And it's during those times, you're going to get to know your child. And you should know your child better than anyone, because if there's a change in behavior, that's another warning sign.
That's a warning sign.
They were outgoing, now they're quiet. Or they used to be kind of quiet, now they just all over the place.
Yeah.
Any change in behavior with a child indicates something has happened.
Something occurred.
Now, I don't, you got to find out what that is as a parent, but something has happened.
And they withdraw, away from society, away. Their patterns change. Nowadays, kids wear the hoodies over their head. They escape with the earbuds, the music, the clothing. Their clothing style, does that change?
It changes. A lot of times they may go from, if they were clean and neat, to being untidy, want to take a bath and smelly and dirty and all of that. And then sometimes there's the opposite, where they just can't wash enough. They're just like, I got to get this off of my skin, like just continuously. They go into, and in the bathroom forever, just washing. And so you find that happens a lot of times.
Also, Barbara, I've seen when I was teaching, and I learned this because for some reason they would come in my classroom and they would just share everything. And of course, we partnered together, April being Child Abuse Awareness Month, and I would allow them to draw and put stop child abuse. And a lot of times internally what was going on the inside, they had drawn these pictures so graphically that I knew that they had been abused, molested, or something. I had to report it. So I said all of that to say, when we see something, why is it important for us to reach out to say something to someone beyond our circles?
Again, it's because the person that the child has the comfort level with is who they're going to at least give some indication. They may not tell the whole story, but I feel comfortable enough coming to you, at least drawing a picture. Then it's not your responsibility to start questioning that person, because you can mess up a case.
Absolutely.
So we always kind of advise that, just listen, accept whatever it is that they do share with you or tell you, and then you report it. And you can report anonymously. Nobody has to know it's you. And then people that are trained to investigate will then go out and investigate.
Yeah. And after investigating, they learn that they become cutters.
Yeah.
Like you said, the washing of the hands, sometimes they cutting their wrists because of the pain that they've endured.
If you see a child and it is 90 degrees outside and they got on long sleeves or a sweater or a coat or something like that, you know, you got you got something's happening here. You know, you might not have to go too far up the sleeve to find a cutting or the burn marks or whatever. And so, you know, you want to, that's not normal when it's hot. And so, you know, if they're continuously want to keep things covered, you know, like that. Yeah.
Even females, when something has occurred within their lives, they cover up. They wear baggy clothes. Just elaborate a little bit more with the female, because we see that a lot.
Well, you know, it's like shame has come. You know, even as a child, you may not know what's normal completely and not normal, but for somewhere within yourself, like, this is, now I'm shame. I don't have value, so I got shame. So I'm trying to disappear.
Yeah.
So if I can hide behind these clothes or just melt away into these clothes and just let these clothes overtake me so nobody can really see me, then I'm hiding from what has happened. And so that's what we find happening sometimes. Yeah. Yeah.
The moments of a child coming with a black eye, bruises. Oh, I fell. What do you do?
Especially when it's repeated, you know, and then if both eyes are black, you know that
something is going on.
Something has happened, but you got black eyes, repeated bruises. You know, here we come with another story this week. Last week it was that story. This week is this story, and you got all these injuries that keep adding on, which is what was happening with the grandmother in Virginia that started the Blue Ribbon Campaign. That was repeated injuries. It wasn't a one time the child fell, because sometimes, you know, kids can be clumsy or something. It wasn't a one time injury. That were repeated injuries. Yeah.
And it happens. It happens. Well, you all are doing a phenomenal job there at the Discovery Center in Starkville, because the entire month of May, y'all have something that's going on to raise awareness that we can get involved in. So, like I said, today is, of course, Blue Out Monday Challenge. I think throughout social media, everyone is wearing blue. And they're putting hashtag Stand Up for Children. So if you're watching and you have on blue, go on social media and put hashtag Stand Up for Children, because we have to be their advocates.
Yes.
We have to be their voice.
We have to.
Share with us some other things that are coming in this great month of April.
Well, this coming Saturday, this coming Saturday, we will be having a triathlon parade, and it will be held at Sudeth Elementary in Starksville, and that's at 101 Greenfield Street. And we have little kids out there riding tricycles. So bring your child with their bicycle, tricycle to ride in the parade. We have our superintendent is going to be our grand marshal.
Oh my, on the trike. How cute is that?
Yes, he is. He's going to be. And so he's going to lead the parade. We have lots of educational material will be given out. We have some bikes to give away, some little trikes and little bicycles that we will be giving away as well. And just a little fun time with the kids and with the parents to be able to help raise awareness. We'll also have, I think we're doing some what we call Identikits. So we have some identity kits where you can do fingerprints of your children and put a picture or whatever. So if they're ever missing or something's happening, you have their fingerprints. So we have those kits will be available for you on that day.
I love it.
Yeah, I think we'll have some of the fire trucks and stuff will be out there, firemen and
great time.
Police officers. We're going to have a great time.
And for those that do not live here in Mississippi or the Golden Triangle area, you all are having a one-night conference that they can Zoom in. Share with us about that.
Yes, we are having a conference, and we recognize we've had so much going on with families with COVID, and the stress level of all of that. And so sometimes people are just depressed. And so we have a lady that's going to be, her name is Emily Suggs. She has I think her name of her business is Upside Down Therapy.
Wow.
Located in Starksville. She has so many letters after her name. I can't remember all of those letters. But anyway, she's very well versed in her field. And she's going to be presenting on how to recognize, sometimes you're just depressed and you might not even recognize yourself, some of the signs and symptoms, and how you can overcome that. Because depression, if you're stressed out and depressed and downcast yourself, your children are really at risk for something.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you could, at any minute you could, and maybe
Explode,
not even intentional.
Abuse. Something can happen because as women, we're like the thermostat. We set the temperature for the household. And you never want your children to walk around on pins and needles because they don't know which phase of mom or dad they're going to receive that day. Exactly. That's powerful. There's a podcast that's taking place. Sally Kate Winters.
Yeah, we have started doing podcasts twice a month, so we're excited about that.
I love it.
It's on YouTube. You can search us at Parent Talk at Discovery Center, and you'll find the podcast. And we're doing one. I think we have one that's going to be posted this Wednesday, which will have an overview of what's happening this month and for child abuse prevention. And then we will have another one that we're doing towards the end of the month, and that was in conjunction with Sally Kate Winters Child Advocacy Center and the Lowndes County District Attorney's Office. And so we will be talking about human trafficking, which is another abusive type thing that we found, and it is happening in our area. Yes, it's not somewhere else. It's not in New York or California. It's here. It's right here in our area. And so we wanted to raise awareness for that because it's also a form of abuse. And sometimes we find children, they get other children to help get other children involved. And I was
going to say that because someone may not be familiar with human sex trafficking, what's going on. Could you just elaborate a little bit more, give them some insight of what it really is?
It really is getting children. In fact, our focus is on children, but they still, as they get older, other people too as well, adults as well. But we're focusing on making sure that we protect children. And what it is they get children involved in having sexual relations with other people, adults, and it's and people get paid. Yeah. And so they're really like pimping out these kids, and they get them early and get them involved in this little ring. And it's very difficult to get them out because they're making money for someone. And they usually lure them in a way, they, kind of almost like bullies do. They spot a vulnerable child, somebody that's already has low self-esteem or something. Yes. And they lure them into this whole cycle of, you can make, you need some money, you can make some money, because maybe they don't have the best shoes and they want some, they want to, and they'll fix them up for a minute at first. Yeah. Till they get, once they get them in real good, then, everything gets kind of cut off. Yeah. And it's very difficult to get them out because now they're dependent on this person. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I think the movie Taken best explains what happened. The only realistic part was they drugged these girls. They became like prostitutes. They were out of their mind. A lot of them lost weight. Yeah. But in the movie, what I thought was, kind of unrealistic because a lot of times when they are trapped in, they never get out. They never return back.
It's a beautiful time. Yeah.